Eventually you come to the place where you realize there's a lot more. And that's when the new cycle really begins. It's a journey. It's a journey that's really, we're in the past of this journey. It's already happened. And what life is about to do is something that is never done before, ever. It's the first time ever since the creation of this, is that it's decided to speed things up. And so instead of taking millions of years to make these different levels of steps, they're going to be done sometimes in minutes. And we're about to go like the speed of light through evolution and up through many, many levels that takes really billions and billions of years normally to achieve. And we're going to reach this very quickly. In fact, experientially, about 2 years. It would normally take at least 10 or 15 billion years to get there. And then once we get there, I can't tell you what will happen then. I don't know. That's between us and God. And by that point, we're going to realize we are God. And so I don't know where it goes when we get to the end of a certain point, because that's where I came from. I went backwards in time, backwards through the levels. It took forever, in the way that humans are thinking. And to get back to this place, once we get there, that's when that's when the brand new part really begins, and I can't tell you what that is. I don't really think there's any words or anything within the human imagination that could even begin to enter into that space. When I introduced the Merkaba to the world, so many people misunderstood. They thought that was everything, that was the most important thing in the world. And actually in consciousness, it is the least important. We have mapped human consciousness out very carefully, and we know exactly how it works. And the Merkaba, which is around the body, is the screen. Out here at your fingertips, there's a sphere of energy, and that is the screen from which the images are projected onto. This is using human words to say something that's slightly beyond humanness, but it's still, the idea works. The images are projected onto this sphere around us, which we call the universe. The universe isn't there, it's just pure consciousness that surrounds each one of us. And but from there, inside of the human head, is a complex set of there's 4 glands and it's very much like a computer. It's really a lot like a computer. And there is a system in there that we've long forgotten. Jesus remembered it. Whenever you look at a shot of Jesus, you usually see these 3 beams of light coming out of his head. There's actually 8 of them, but you can't see them all from the front position. And those beams of light are tied into the pineal gland. Around those beams of light is a sphere of energy that moves around there, and then inside the pineal gland there are 8 beams of light that come out in a sets of 4. And then that pineal gland is an eyeball. It is literally the third eye. It is hollow. It has color receptors inside of it. It has a lens on top of it. And that is connected behind it to something that's squeezed around it called the thalamus. And the thalamus gland, or glands, there's 2 of them, have a long tube that go down to the roof of the mouth. And I'm just going backwards in all of this. In front of the pineal gland, there's 2 more glands, a little pair of them up here. So there's the pituitary glands. And in front of that, there's another chakra point out in space that is the distance from the tip of your nose to the tip of your tip of your nose to the tip of your chin, out here in front of you. And when all those glands are lined up, and there's a very specific way you do that, which has to do with your tongue, because your tongue is the key to higher consciousness. These things all seem strange until you actually understand how they work. Actually, I can tell you very quickly. When you look at human conception, it begins as a sphere, which is the ovum. Sperm comes in and conception takes place. And then it divides into two through mitosis. Then it divides into four and forms a perfect tetrahedron. Then it goes into 8 and forms a star tetrahedron, which is the key to the Merkaba. Which is a cube, and then it continues to growing, and this is in one of the books, where it then forms an apple shape that is hollow inside. That's at 512 cells. And that is and in the book we stopped there. Well, if you continue on with pure medical research and just study the books, what that becomes is the heart. And there is a stage of development where every one of us was in our mommy's womb, and our body, our entire body, was our heart, and nothing more. And then, at one stage, our body came out of the heart and emerged out, our hands and our feet and our head and everything like that, and the heart was tucked in, and we became the fetus that we were familiar with. Just from that, you can see why the heart is more important than the brain. It's older. It's more established. But what is the first part of the human body that comes out of the heart? The very first thing. It's the tip of the tongue. The tip of the tongue emerges out. And so intuitively you can see that the tip of the tongue is directly connected to the sacred space of the heart, where creation takes place. And so when one is in their heart, and they must be in their heart, not in their brain, and they're sitting inside the sacred space of the heart, and they put the tip of the tongue on the roof of their mouth and begin to massage a very specific spot, it causes a sexual stimulation between the heart and the brain, which stimulates the thalamus. That begins to fire alpha in the four lobes of the brain. And when the alpha reaches a certain level of firing, this green light will appear that is talked about all the way back in the Vedas 6,000 years ago. It sometimes is green-blue and sometimes is green-yellow, but it always has a green tinge to it. And then at that point, even in the Great White Brotherhood, they talk about bending the flame with intention. You turn the third eye so it's looking straight up, actually. Instead of these look this way, that one looks this way up. You turn it till it looks toward the third eye point. And then through a certain meditative state, the green light turns into a spiral or concentric rings, and it links with the pituitary, and then you look through it to the other end, at which point a halo forms around your head, which is scientifically documented.